Okay, welcome to the live version of Step Into the Story. I'm going to pat myself on the back because I didn't mess that up. I'm Barbara Tanner Wallace. As you may notice, Donna Jones-Aldward is not here because we're going to talk about her behind her back. And I have two very good people to do that with. It's Sid Young from #HF who's also an historical fiction author, and Emily York, who's also known as the Book Distiller. So hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Did you all survive the hurricane last weekend?
We did. We got a lot of rain.
You didn't get
Carolinas.
You said you're in sort of central Texas.
We just finally got heat again. We were having such a great summer without heat. We were like, what is this? So it's back to summertime.
All right. Well, we're going to talk today about When the World Fell Silent. And I keep calling it the wrong title, which makes me like the worst best friend ever.
Was it a different title?
I know. I keep saying When the World Went Silent. And
Okay.
For a year now, I've called it the wrong thing. So anyways, it is by Donna Jones-Aldward. It is her debut novel as an historical fiction author. She's written 68 romance novels. And it is the story of the 1917 Halifax explosion. So what I thought I'd do, since you guys are going to be the chattering people today, I'm not going to do too much talking because I already know I'm biased. And I did read it. And I loved it. But first I want to start with the cover. And my question is, because I kind of got a behind the scenes look at when she was picking the cover and what she wanted. What is your opinion on it? And would it have made you grab this book off the shelf?
I absolutely loved it. And I will tell you that I'm a pretty big critic of the back on the book kind of cover. But the reason I like this is I feel like, now, especially now that we don't just have backs on historical fiction, I think it has to mean something. And on this one, having read the book, it definitely means something. And to me, it shows some longing and some hope. And I think that's perfect for the book. Plus, you can't go wrong with the ocean and Queen Anne's lace, right?
That is true.
Correct. I loved it as well. I am a sucker for a back on a book. I don't know why. A lot of people say that's on the way out, but I still like it. And then many years ago, I visited Halifax. And so I do love, like you were saying, the ocean, and just it ushers you into the setting really nicely.
All right. So you guys would have picked up the book regardless of whether we made you do it or not. It's kind of the good. That's good to know, and actually the reason I bring that up is because we had a friend of Sid's on. We were discussing her book, and I loved the paperback cover. I was not crazy about the hardback cover. And I said that the paperback cover made me pick it up. It was not the hardback cover.
Which book can you say?
Witch in the Czar, which I loved.
Yes. And actually, the English covers have just way outdone the American covers.
Really?
Yes.
So this one I loved. I thought I had a real Andrew Wyeth kind of appeal to it. Reminded me of the Jenny in the Field painting. If you're familiar with that at all. Where she's in the field looking out. There's a kind of a loneliness almost to it at the same time. So,
I don't think I've seen it, but now I got to look it up.
So we know that, as you said in the cover, we know that this book's about the aftermath of the Halifax explosion. So how much of that did you know about? Like, have you ever heard of it before?
I actually had heard of it just because of my Canadian writing friends. I don't think I would have heard of it without that.
How about you, Emily?
I don't think I had. And so I definitely went and kept researching and wanting to see the maps of what it looked like. And it's pretty astounding when you go and see how many were injured and how many died in it. Are we giving spoilers on here?
Well, that's not a spoiler. We can kind of say, for those who don't know, two ships collided and one of them had fuel, and they were in the narrows of the Halifax Channel, and they caused an explosion which leveled a good half the city maybe, and it killed thousands. It injured 9,000 or something like that. I mean, it was awful.
I mean, Barb, did you know about it, or is this just American? Just the United States? We didn't teach that kind of history, or did you know about it because it's more Northeast?
I knew about it because so fun fact: Boston was the first city to mobilize outside of Canada was the first city in the America to mobilize medical people and get them up there. And
cool.
because of that, we get the Christmas tree from Halifax every year in Boston. And
That's cool.
Wow.
well, I knew about it because of that. But
Wow.
otherwise, no, they don't teach about. We don't teach other countries. There's not other countries. It's America.
That's right. That's right.
So,
But I do think this story really does a lot to put you there. And I love that it's not World War II, but it is something really important and kind of not our times, but fits our times, kind of thing. But I loved how Donna wove it into the story. It's not, their lives are the central part of the story, not the explosion.
Yeah.
And I loved how she did that. I thought props to Donna on that.
Mm-hmm. And not too war heavy, but very impactful how much the war impacted the women who were left behind, either as widows or just taking care of the home and not knowing if their loved ones were safe. I thought she did an excellent job of that too, with still making the women and the children like the main focus and family. And
Yes.
I apologize. I have my puppy is over here. I have a doodle and she's pawing me. And so I'm trying to keep her out of the video. So
there'll be a cat soon, so don't worry. There's a wonderful scene in the book where they actually sit and discuss the aftermath and kind of describe the damage. She doesn't do any info dumping, which I thought was wonderful. Mm-hmm. But she does have a great scene where they're just talking about people they know who might not be there and that they'd heard about so-and-so. And she did a wonderful job of really just getting that. It was random.
I also thought she got to it really well. Like I did not, I knew about what had happened, but I didn't go and do any, exploring before I read the book. And I was just reading along and boom, it was there. And I really liked how she got into that. It felt like it was just a part of, it was just, they were living their lives. They didn't have a clue that this was about to happen.
Right.
And that's how you go into it with the book, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, I thought that was really well done. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the two women. Because at the core, there are two women. There's Charlotte and Nora, who are living very different lives. We could take them separately because they each make a life-changing choice. And I don't want to spoil it too much, but they each make a choice that spins the rest of their story. And I was curious about, what did you think? Nora's was the more modern one. So what did you think of Nora?
I liked Nora, but also nursing is my background. So that really stuck with me. And just some life circumstances that happened to her that would impact her career choices and the way that she was viewed as society. I thought Donna did a really good job of expounding upon that. And I like Nora. I thought she was a really strong woman. She really held it all together.
I did too. I feel like Nora was more the star of the book, which was great. I really loved her voice, and I listened to the book, so I didn't highlight really any passages, but the one mark that I made was when she was talking about how she didn't think she was in love with, Alton, the gentleman that she's with at the beginning of the book. And she really spends time, with all of this going on and, everyone in her life, she really spends time thinking that she's just going to have this blow up of a love, and so she questions herself about whether, for as far as romantic love, whether she's in love or not, and she's a little too hard on herself. And I did love Nora. She's a hard worker. She's very pure of heart and well-intentioned, and life just happens to her, just the way it happens to many women, and the consequences of the laws back in those days made what happened to her an even bigger deal. Laws and the way society treated. So
she was a very modern heroine. I mean, she could have been a current heroine, a contemporary.
But also well fit into her time. I mean, I didn't ever feel like we were just exploring modern times through her, so.
Now, what did you think about Charlotte?
I struggled a little bit with Charlotte, but I think it's because I liked Nora so much. However, I do think Donna did a beautiful job. I mean, I'm jumping ahead. One of your questions was about themes, and the theme of family and children and the mother-child bond is so strong. And really, my heart was really drawn to her with her losses and her desperation after the explosion and looking for her child. And so she almost became likable in that realm because she really modeled ultimately what true love really is. So I don't know. I'm trying to be cryptic and not share.
No, I know. So I'm curious. It's actually very funny because Charlotte was actually my favorite character.
Okay.
I just really felt for her because I can imagine, we're not spoiling to say there's an explosion and children are missing. That was something that really happened. So, but what do you said?
I do want to say before I started prepping for this, I was like, oh, this book is going to be so hard to not give spoilers.
Oh, I know.
My heart went out to Charlotte as well. And I think part of it is just that Charlotte to me is an every woman. No one is going to tell young women who grow up and do the thing they think they're supposed to do, the hardships that they're going to face. And the fact that, societies and family and law and life isn't necessarily going to go your way, and as a lawyer, I've had a lot of Charlotte clients, so my heart went out to Charlotte. And I felt that the way that Donna wrote her, like I loved, and I won't give this away either, but I loved how Donna did the prologue. Prologues aren't always necessary, but the prologue doesn't say who is speaking. And that someone is going to do something that maybe they shouldn't and has a lot of regret. And I think that really helped spoil as far as, I mean, not spoil, but keep the story going. For me, it really helped make it a page turner. And so you're guessing, is this Charlotte or is this Nora that's speaking? Who said that? And who's going to get so desperate towards the end of the book? And, of course, they're both desperate. But Charlotte is just one of those people that, man, I mean, she is just dealt a hard hand. And I really loved her journey.
Yeah, and she's clinging to sanity all through the book. And I thought that Donna did a terrific job of showing just how fragile she was.
And the juxtaposition of she had no one. Frank, her husband, had died, and his family, and then Nora had everyone and kept adding. And
so that was the mirror images of each other, and it was.
So and also Charlotte, Charlotte, and I see this. She doesn't have anywhere to go, and so she's living with his family, and they're expecting her to, do so much for them, and she's just in a hard place. So what did you think? I also wanted to say, sorry, I liked how Donna did not go just back and forth.
Yes.
We would spend time with a character, and then we would hear from the other character when it was time to hear from them.
Yeah,
so that was very good.
Yeah, she alternates, but when it's appropriate. And
right.
That's a sign of an experienced writer, I think, that she knows when it's time to split away and when you really need to spend some time digging in. Now, what did you think of the men? Because there are two men in there. Charlotte's husband's off the page, so he doesn't really count. But Nora has two men in her life, Valley, and then you have, I can't remember his name, the doctor.
Neil.
Captain Neil. Yeah.
Neil McLeod. I really like
the back seat to the women, I will say.
They do play backseat.
But they also help carry the story along, like in the hospital, Neil's there and is such a part of the boarding house and everything. I really liked Neil. I thought he was really honorable, selfless, is kind of a good model of a man. And to this toxic masculinity age, that's not Neil. But I just want to say I'm a reader who loves a bow on top and everything to work out. I want to hear what happened to everyone. So when Allie makes a surprise appearance, and that's all I'll say, to me, I was like, that's the best part of the book because I got my answer. She got her answer.
That's true.
Had such a peace after she saw him. And so I just thought, okay, thank you, Donna. Like I would always have wondered where was Allie? Was he still overseas?
Well, in that case, so that leads to my next question. So you were satisfied with the endings for both storylines?
I was, but I was surprised by, like, she caught me off guard by the endings. That's always a good sign of a good book.
Yeah, I'll say I was not spoiling Charlotte's, but I had argued for a slightly different ending when she was writing it, but she did catch me off guard.
I did like the ending. I could have used more Neil, to be honest. Of course, I've got dogs going on, but I
want more Neil too. There we go.
Yeah, give me a little more Neil. Yeah.
So what did you start? We talked a little bit. We were saying about the themes, and Emily had mentioned she is very much about motherhood and what is a family. What other themes would you say were very strong in this? I mean, I know because I know they kind of resonate through a lot of Donna's books. She has some favorites that she hits, but.
So I noticed that the caption that Goodreads introduces it with, and I actually had noticed this before I saw your questions, it very well encapsulates it with loss, hope, and redemption. But I felt like it's more regret and longing that kind of meet each other. And I loved how that played out.
I like that. That's good.
It's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is because there's moments where they're very regretful about choices they made, and there's no going back once they make them.
And they both are. And I did like that Donna actually got into Charlotte's psyche as well. I liked that. Yes,
Charlotte could have been done more stereotypically, and I think the fact that you really were in her head for a lot of her decisions made her very sympathetic. So then you couldn't, it was like which way do you want it to go? So I don't
know if this is a theme or if this is more like a character trait throughout, but resiliency and grit is what I kept thinking of, because you had to keep going. You had children to care for, you had the wounded to care for, you have, between the boarding house or your own family or the hospital, you had to keep going. None of this laying down and just giving up. And I just thought she did a great job modeling that in and really all of her characters.
Yeah, I thought she did too. Although she does have a scene where the woman lets her go, Nora gets it out.
Yeah.
Which is a great scene.
And we haven't touched on this, but I just thought I like when you were talking about Boston, I like how she introduced the Spanish flu and what that was like. Because we all thought, that's overseas. But no, Neil went to Boston, to the epicenter of it. And how frightening that is. I mean, I can't imagine as a mother, you don't know if you're, you don't know how it spreads. They didn't know any of that. They were worried for their families and their children. And obviously she was worried for her husband. So I think that was
after you just, lost the whole town just lost so much.
Yeah. So I was a nice touch. She added that in as well.
So for someone who hasn't read Donna yet, because historical fiction people won't have known her as much as her romance fans would. So what books or authors would you compare her to kind of tell people you got to pick up this book?
So I really felt like she was a Lisa Wingate for me.
Ooh, she's gonna cry.
She, she has a deft touch with mother-child.
That is a very, very common theme with her.
Yeah.
Even if you read
don't see a lot of
romance.
authors that do that so well. And so I would say Lisa Wingate's Before You Were Mine, even though it's not really, there's nothing from the child's point of view, but it still hit me in the heart where that book did.
Yeah. How about you, Emily?
Hold on. I'm looking at this author. You just reminded me. I like the Lisa Wingate. I was thinking Genevieve Graham. She's a Canadian author. She actually
she's actually a friend of Donna's.
Oh, she is? Well, I'm looking at my Goodreads, and I mean, she has like thousands of 5-star ratings, and I've loved all the books of hers I've read. And so that just made me think of that Canadian nod and the historical fiction.
Okay. Well, those are two good comparisons. So any questions? If Donna were here, what would you want to ask her?
Well, hold on. Who do you think? What do you think her book? I want to hear your thoughts.
It's hard because I've read a lot of Donna's romances too.
Yeah.
I think Lisa Wingate was a really good person. And I was going to go with Christina McMorris with her, I can't remember the name of it, with the Babies for Sale.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that one. She definitely home, hearth, motherhood. Those are that's her core story. Any book you read by her, you will get this sense of how important family is, and how important that core of mother love is. So yeah, I would say maybe Christina McMorris is another one that I would compare her to.
So I have a historical question for Donna.
And I'll make her answer these. That's why.
Because I know the answer from the state side, but I don't know the answer from the Canadian side, and whether, women had, what kind of rights women had back towards the end of the book. If Canadian women were fighting for their rights like the States women were, or if they had already gotten some rights.
That's a good question. I don't know. I'll ask her. I'm sure she knows.
And I just asked because I know that, like in the States, a woman who's married wouldn't get to work anymore. So I wondered if that was any kind of impediment in Canada or not.
Oh, not even as a nurse during wartime?
Well, maybe I don't know that. I just know that we, I think we'd all be pretty shocked at the kind of rights that people didn't have. So
yeah, Emily, any questions? Like I said, we'll make her answer these.
Well, I could probably Google this and look it up, but I'm curious if she knows. We know that there were a lot of children who were orphaned, and so what happened to all those children? And was there a big orphanage? It sounds like there were a lot of people helping and providing aid to the city, but what happened to the children? So, and how long did it take her to research all of this and write it? I'm curious.
I know that it took her a couple of years.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to know, and I think Donna would actually be a good teacher on this, she did great with pacing, and it's not the kind of pacing, again, like a World War II book has. And so I loved how it's a normal about women and children and family kind of book, but the pacing is there. And so I'd love to hear more about how she does it.
Okay. I was going to say that I know has to come from a romance background, because every author I read who had really good pacing, turns out that they wrote romance. Like Piper Hughley, Vanessa Riley, Madeline Martin. They're, you're like, oh, Eliza Knight. It's like, oh, that's right, because they've written a whole bunch of books. So that's probably her 68 books, which is sad and scary at the same time. She's written so many of those. But yeah, the pacing I thought was fantastic in this. She didn't waste anything.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So 2 thumbs up from everybody, right? I don't count because I'm going to recommend it.
Yes.
It was excellent.
Yes. Very glad I read.
Really looking forward to her follow-up, which is about the Titanic. She's working on it now.
Oh, wow.
So, because interestingly, Halifax is where a lot of the dead came in.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, Halifax is a very colorful town. I had no idea, but spend a day at a museum with Donna and you'll learn quite a lot.
I love it. I love it.
Well, I thank you both for coming on. We love having you guys. Usually, both of you have recommended books that we've ended up loving that we would never have picked up. So I'm really glad to see that you like this one. We trust your judgment. People should trust your judgment and go out and grab this book. And I hope you guys will come on again in 2025.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. We'll let you go. Now Emily's got to rush to the bus. So,
All right.
All
All right,
thank
bye.
you very much. All right. Bye-bye. Oh, thank you guys.